Hi, everybody. This is Eric Enge. I'm the CEO of Stone Temple Consulting. This is the Digital Marketing Answers Show, and oddly enough, with me here today is my co-host.
Yeah, well, oddly is a word that's often applied to me, but what Eric meant, what's odd is that I'm here today, present at the Stone Temple Consulting offices, as I am actually once a month. But it's a very special time at Stone Temple this week, isn't it, Eric?
Yeah, yes, it is. We're having the annual Stone Temple company meeting. We have about 35 people here in the office today. Actually, I think the real number is 36. And we have all kinds of great things going on, and we're planning to have a rocking good party tonight. See if we can get the police coming over to break it up and good stuff like that.
Yeah, the usual objectives that we would have for our company.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Always trying to set the best of standards for reputations in the industry. We're going to talk about Google Plus, Google My Business, and Facebook Reach. You don't actually get an open invitation, by the way. You just kind of do it. There we go. I'm trying to teach Clark Taylor how to photobomb or video bomb, as the case might be.
Hey, I'll just throw in a plug. That was Clark Taylor, one of our senior marketing consultants here at Stone Temple, and who is somebody who's very active here on Google Plus. So if you're looking for another smart Stone Temple person you want to follow and get good content from, check out Clark Taylor. He's that's a common name, so first of all, look for the handsome one, and second, check the profile, and that he's from Stone Temple Consulting. That's our guy.
Yeah, plus Clark space Taylor, Taylor. So follow him. So anyway, Google My Business. First of all, I have to say this is like the 5th launch since the most recent proclamation of Google Plus being dead, and it's actually one of the more significant ones.
Yeah, it's very significant because this is really an affirmation. While Google My Business isn't entirely about Google Plus, it is a very strong affirmation that Google Plus is very much still at the center of Google's plans to help businesses use Google better. So maybe we should talk first about what Google My Business is, what it changes, what it does.
Yeah, why don't you do that? Go ahead.
Be glad to.
Keep rolling.
All right. Google My Business was introduced last week, and it's what a lot of businesses online that work with Google or want to work with Google have been looking for. A much more streamlined, more simpler method of getting yourself set up with Google organically. Basically meaning, getting your business known by Google, getting it connected to Google. So Google can identify your business, know where it is, know what you do, what you're about, know who cares about it, and begin to evaluate that to say, like, okay, these are the circumstances under which we should show it to people who are using Google products, Google Search, Google Maps, Google Earth, Google Plus, all these different kinds of products. So it's a finally kind of a one-stop shop for getting yourself set up. The site is very beautifully done. It's still, it will have more features to it in the future, but the parts that are working are great. You just walk through, you click Get Started, you just tell Google information about your business, you kind of fill it in the forms, it guides you through the process almost automatically of getting set up with a Google Plus brand page for your business, local pages for all of your local locations if you have that, making sure that all the identity information is in there correctly that they need to help you to show up on the right place for local searches or on Google Maps and things like that. And perhaps another thing that's very nice about it is that it has a troubleshooting section that you get instant feedback. So you put in your information, you submit it, you go to do your verifications, you can go to a dashboard and look right away and see where Google is seeing things that it's not sure about. In the past, you had to kind of guess about that and do trial and error. Now they're actually telling you, like, there's an error here, or this information doesn't match, or doesn't match with other databases that we have, and you have an opportunity to correct that to get through the process quicker. The whole verification process has been streamlined and sped up, so it's going to be a much better experience for users and allow businesses to get, may identify themselves properly with Google, which has been frankly, a nightmare for a lot of businesses in the past.
Well, and I want to amplify one of the things you said, this dashboard for telling you where Google is seeing problems in your results or errors. That it is huge, because one of the biggest things in ranking in local search is Google seeing the same data for your business everywhere on the web. And so that means on yellowpages.com and city pages and super pages and all these different kinds of websites, Yelp. If the information wants to be shown in the same way in each of those places, as well as in the Google database, right? And when those are out of sync, it gives Google concern about what the accurate information is. Mm-hmm. And the reason why they care about that is if they show your name and address and phone number, we call that the NAP in local search. If they show that in the Google search results and they pick what they think the best choice is, and then a user calls a phone number or worse goes there and the information is wrong, right, because they made the wrong guess between the choices they had, that's really bad for their customer experience.
Sure.
So they really don't want that to happen, mm-hmm. right? So this ability to get that quick dashboard of what you have to fix is huge.
Absolutely. And then the other side of this, as you started out alluding to, I think is important for our overall topic today, is how much, again, Google Plus is at the center of this. Part of the process that you go through here is that if you don't already have one or have one set up correctly for your business, going through this process will set you up on Google Plus. You will then have a properly set up brand page, and you will have, again, if you have one or multiple locations, you'll have the proper local pages that will be all associated in the correct way with that brand page. And this indicates that, as we've been saying all along, that Google has been very serious about using Google Plus as its identity engine to figure out the entities, to know who they are, not just people like us when we have our personal profiles and Google authorship and things like that, but now, not just now, I think previously, but now all the more so that commitment is there, that this is the way they're going to use to be able to identify brands. Now, if you're a Ford Motors or a General Electric, Google pretty much already knows who you are and where you are and what you're, what
right.
you're important for. But there's, hundreds and thousands, maybe millions of brands out there that Google doesn't know from Adam Incorporated in the case of a brand. So
we'll go with Acme Incorporated.
Acme, with the Wile E. Coyote,
yes.
where he shops. So this is so important because this affirms again that Google Plus is anything but going away. It is the way that Google has designed and baked into their system to identify the entities, persons, places, and things it needs to know, how they connect to each other, and certainly, if you have any business that cares about being found on Google, you want to be connected to this.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And one other thing I just want to expand on a little bit too, because you mentioned this the other day, because we were going into a call with a major client of ours, a client with more than 1,000 locations, and we actually have many clients with many different locations, so we do a lot of this. What this does is it makes this process for large location, or that's really poorly worded, businesses with many locations, so much easier. It's kind of like tailor-made to really.
Absolutely.
It wasn't a pun on your last name there, Clark. He's still sitting over there, guys. So to make that easier for them to deal with the complexity, because particularly when places like that, when they have many locations, the locations tend to change, right? The phone number might change, the street address might change, things move, places close, new ones open. Man, that's a scaling problem, right?
Yeah.
And now the interface with Google has become that much easier.
And also allows large brands like that to use their the capabilities that they have to more centralize helping their individual locations, because the whoever has the manager access to this overall Google My Business, and by the way, when just to be very specific, when it's a multiple location business, they actually refer to as Google My Business locations. It's a whole separate part of the site. But anybody who has full management access to that can go in and update information on any of the locations, as well as, of course, the overall brand. So, if you have those resources, you can employ that. Your individual locations might be very small franchises, small businesses who can't keep up with that, but you can do it for them now. And make sure that information is up to date. You can also, some of this is present now, some of it's coming capabilities. You can upload photos to those local sites that will be included. You can manage the reviews through there, monitor and track the reviews that are coming in, make responses if you need to those reviews. You can upload videos, and I'm hearing a rumor, I haven't checked this out yet, that they're going to be, at some point allow businesses to upload their own kind of internal Street View photosphere videos. Up until now, you may have seen this, you can, you can hire a certified trained Google photographer to come in with special equipment and do an inside tour, actually inside your business. So people on Google Street View can actually enter the business, kind of like walk through the door and maneuver around through your store location and see what's there, see what it looks like inside. That's taken special equipment, special contracting for now. What I've heard is that they're going to allow businesses to go in and take Google Android Photosphere, which is a 360-degree view. So I don't think it'll maybe be as sophisticated as the professional ones, but still will be a kind of inside view that you can include on these local sites. Kind of cool.
Yeah, no, it is very cool. So that means my Aunt Ethel can do it.
Even your Aunt Ethel can do it, yes. In fact, we might hire her on here to do that for clients.
It's very hard to do because she doesn't actually exist. But
that'll be cheap.
Well, there you go.
Cheap in the payroll.
Yes. So okay, so that's the Google side of the story. And before I go on, I actually want to remind everybody that we call this Digital Marketing Answer Show because we do take questions. For those of you who are familiar with the way these Hangouts on Air work, the comment tracker was down today, so we'll be a little slower than normal and may not be able to pop the questions on screen, but we will take and answer questions, and we'll certainly call out everybody who's asking them. So, fire away with those. So, okay, now we have Facebook. It's.
I'm just hearing that I'm cut off on their screens at least.
Oh, you've been cut off. Here, let's just rotate.
All right, there we go.
There you go.
Right. Okay, Charlotte, let us know if that's a better view. More of me, less of Eric. Is that what you're saying? I don't. That's not actually what you said.
Excellent. Okay, so yeah. So now I'll be cut off most likely.
Right.
Here, I'll be cut off. So okay. So Facebook. It's actually a pretty well-known social media site. Yeah, and so there's been all this talk lately about their declining reach, and they've certainly done that. They've done things which appear to have been intended to drive people to brands to buy traffic rather than live fat, dumb, and happy on the free organic traffic. So what's the deal?
Well, first of all, I wrote, I have a regular column now in Marketing Land, a social media marketing column, and my column for this month is on this topic. I put the link in the chat here on the event page on Google+, and if you remember, we'll put it also in the YouTube video description later so that you folks can look that up. But I took what was maybe sort of a little bit of a different stand on that because I understand, as Eric was saying, a lot of brands have been complaining and accusing Facebook of a kind of bait and switch. You got us in here with the free fans and the free traffic. We come in and we could use Facebook for free. We could get as many likes, fans as we wanted, and then we could push out content through our brand page and be reasonably sure that most of those fans, the people that like the page, would see that content in their streams. And what's been happening, over the last year or so, especially, and this is not even a point of conjecture anymore. Even Facebook admits they're doing this. They have been intentionally turning up the throttle, turning down the volume, if you will, on that branded content being organically shown in news feeds. It's gotten less and less and less, till by some third-party estimates earlier this year, it's as little for some brands as 6%. So that means that as little as 6% of their fans see a particular piece of content that they push out. This led to some outcry. There's a very well publicized kind of case that went viral where a foodie brand called Eat24 announced that they were breaking up. They did a very kind of funny, humorous post about a breakup letter to Facebook, basically saying like Facebook, it's not us, it is you. And you've made it so hard for us to reach the fans who chose us, who liked us, said they want to see stuff from us, that we give up. We're pulling out, and they literally shut down their Facebook page and announced that they were going to turn their attention primarily to Twitter and also to Google Plus, where they have been much more active ever since. Now that's got a lot of publicity, and that led to a lot of people thinking like, oh, this is the end of Facebook. It's a disaster. Facebook's really blown it, and everybody, all the brands are going to leave. Well, that hasn't happened, and it's not likely to happen for reasons I'll talk about in a moment. But what that also led to was a lot of speculation or outright accusations from people who have brand pages, especially smaller brands, nonprofits, things like this, saying this is just a squeeze play. It's just Facebook basically extorting us. They are, they're coming in and saying, we're going to just forcibly take away your organic traffic to the point where you have to pay to play on Facebook. You have to.
Well, and it's kind of an ironic argument, right? I mean, people have to realize when these large platforms, these people are running businesses,
yeah.
Right? So we have a lot of these conversations all the time about Google, not Google Plus specifically, but Google, every time they make some change in the layout of search results, it's only done to make Google more money. Well, it is a business. So first of all, I'm not saying I buy the argument as simply as offered, but the reality is that Facebook is public now.
Yeah, and they have to make money. Now, what my contention was that I don't believe that the strategy here is a squeeze play strategy. In other words, yes, I do believe that Facebook is throttling the organic content of brands in order to make more money. Let me be very clear about that at the upfront. I don't think that their specific strategy, though, is to do that by squeezing brands into having to buy advertising or have paid promoted content. Rather, I think that they've come to the conclusion, based on their data, they've grown so big, well over 1 billion active users now. There's so many brands that have come in and wanted to take advantage of that and wanted to push their content out, that they've come to the conclusion that they either have to do something like this or they're going to kill their golden goose. Here's the two pieces of data that they're looking at. First of all, the amount of content that comes everywhere on the web, but certainly on Facebook, is increasing exponentially. Both content from users, but also content from brands. Brands, when they discovered that Facebook was a great free way to reach people with your message and your content, dove in there. The first little bit of throttling we saw was when Facebook implemented an algorithm, much like Google does, to decide, okay, we can't show everybody everything because it's just too much. So how do we decide what gets shown to users? And the first algorithm was called EdgeRank. That's been gone for a long time now. But EdgeRank basically had a few simple criteria, which is mostly based on engagement. Like the more people engage with your content, the more we'll show it to them. Well, this led to this crazy race on Facebook of brands just putting up anything, just goofy pictures, or if you think this is funny, like this, or share it with 15 of your friends. Or, it was nothing to do with the brand message, nothing of immense value. Just this race to get more people to click that plus button or leave a comment or share to drive up the edge rank. So Facebook saw, well, that's not working. So now they've made the algorithm much more complex. engagement is still a very big part of it, but they're much more fine-tuned now into seeing the kind of content that for every individual user, that user tends to want to see it and like. The other fact that they know from their data is that as much as people say, when you ask people, they'll say, do you want to see everything that you've liked? A lot of people say yes. Oh yeah, if I liked a brand, that means I want to see their stuff. The reality is, though, people say one thing and they do another. And Facebook knows that when there's too much branded content, and even though this is content from brands that you liked on Facebook, when there's too much branded content, time on Facebook goes down. People spend less time on Facebook, and that's bad for Facebook. And what I contend in the article was that ultimately that's bad for the brands too, because it doesn't do you any good to get all the organic reach in the world on a network that people aren't going to, or are spending less and less time on. So Facebook realized in the end of the day that the best, in their situation, because it's a network that people go to for social engagement, they go to check in on their friends and have fun and be entertained. They don't go there to do market research or find what they're next going to buy. That the best value for brands is in their paid targeted offerings, whether that's paid ads or the paid promoted posts. So that's basically what I was contending, was that Facebook had to do this, and that they're smart enough to realize that that's where the value is ultimately for brands, and being able to get that highly targeted content to the right person at the right time, and that this is saving Facebook so that there'll be a place for these brands to interact. Now one last thing I want to say is that don't read any of that as oh, Mark Trapping is now a Facebook fanboy and he's an apologist and defender of Facebook. I have a lot of problems with a lot of things that Facebook does, but I do see this. I have to, as a social media strategist, I have to be able to take a step back from whatever personal feelings I may have, whatever personal, I might like this social network better than that social network, and I have to look at it as a business and see, there are a lot of smart people at Facebook, and what are they really up to? What are they really trying to do? Now, and one more last thing, and that is.
Is this the last thing?
This is the if you're keeping track at home, this is the last thing. Is that well, no, the other thing was the last thing because now I forgot it. But it'll come back to me.
Okay, so
a lot to put out there.
So, since you are a Facebook fanboy, let me ask you some questions along those lines. Well, you brought it up, not me. Okay, so the supposition here is that there was, and by the way, I agree with some of it or most of it. Most of it. There we go. We'll go with most of it.
You'll never know which parts.
Yeah, I'm not going to actually fill that in.
He agreed with the part at the top that said "Buy Mark Trapping," and after that he was like,
"Yeah, there you go." All right. Well, that was. Are you sure it was by you? Okay. So the supposition here is that Facebook was getting flooded with effectively low-value traffic, right? And I do agree with that, right? You're getting people putting up these posts just to get those plus ones because that expands their reach per edge rank, and I think that's fairly straightforward. And edge rank was a fine starting place, and much the same as Google effectively made PageRank not a direct driver of its algorithm. Facebook has moved on to something that's more sophisticated. The environments really have a lot of similarities to them in the sense that they've built very large audiences. There's a large amount of commercial incentive to figure out how to maximize the value you get out of that, and then people start doing the tricks that work, right? And cat memes and other kinds of things which have their place, used the right way, no doubt about it. But it's started to get to be too much of the traffic. So. That's I think a fair resummarization. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how it evolves. Now, I just want to relate another thing because I'm going to keep drawing on my Google analogy here a little bit, and that is that Google has been under scrutiny from the Federal Trade Commission, and one of the things that I believe, and I'm certainly not party to those discussions, and I don't have any inside information on it, but I believe that what's going on in those discussions is that there are things about, you would expect, about unfair trade practices being explored. And I think that the burden that Google would face in those kinds of discussions is, well, but everything we did made our product better, as shown by these metrics. And metrics might be better engagement with the search results, higher click-through rates, longer dwell times from people who click through on something on the sites they land on, and things like that. And that basically Google, well, there's probably other criteria, but one criteria they likely have to meet is that if they do things that are making the platform more and more commercial, if they can show that the product experience is continuously improving in the process, pretty much have a free pass.
Yeah.
Right? They're free to make their product better. And I did actually get in an argument with someone once about whether they had the right to make their product better, but I just stopped talking because it wasn't worth talking to that person.
And I would just add to that, again, this is part of what I tried to argue in my Facebook article, but I think it applies to Google as well, is that ultimately, although Google making it better means them tightening up things, means making it harder to rank for, without by playing games or tricks or things like that, ultimately that's good news for the real brands that matter, because the things that really should rank, the things that people actually value more and more, will be what will be seen, will be out there. So you could argue that while Google is doing it for selfish reasons, they also are doing it because in the end, at the end, it makes for a better experience for everybody, including the brands who are trying to rank on Google.
Right. And by the way, I see that Christopher Howes has committed to bringing the pudding and pie. Thank you. I appreciate you doing that. I may have misinterpreted your comment slightly. And Christopher Vogelman wanted to know if you could buy EdgeRank. Well, I mean, historically that was done by buying engagement effectively.
I don't know if maybe Christopher's referring to the similar kind of accusation that comes up from time to time where people say that, oh yeah, we all know if you buy AdWords on Google that your rankings will go up, which Google has vehemently denied, and there is no evidence that anybody's produced that they are doing that, and I think it would be absolutely idiotic for them to do it.
Well, and the reality is if the Federal Trade Commission found any evidence of that, then that would be something that would get Google in a passive full of trouble.
Yeah, and forget legal trouble. I mean, if that got out, if there was proof out there that Google was manipulating the search results by money, that'd be the end of Google, because Google is based on why do we use Google? We use Google because we essentially trust it. We trust that it's giving us fair and good results. If there were ever any evidence that it was corrupting those results in any way, that would be the end of their whole business.
Yeah. So another question from Christopher here.
Okay. Are ads that appear in a person's Facebook news feed more effective than those regular I think he means side panel ads.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Facebook doesn't refer to what appears in the news feed as ads. It's called promoted content, and you see more and more of the social networks doing this. Twitter has them now, promoted tweets. Pinterest has introduced to a limited number of brands promoted pins, where you can pay to have, basically you're pushing, rather than an ad, you're pushing content into the stream. So the advantages of that are, first of all, that unlike a typical side panel ad, it doesn't look like an ad. It's well designed. It's real content. It shows right in the main stream where people are already looking. They don't have to look to the side, to happen to see those ads over there. And you can target it. You can use all of the sophisticated targeting tools that Facebook has to say, I don't want to pay money to show this to everybody. I want to show this specifically to the people who would be most interested, most likely to use and engage with this content, and that it will mean something to, so that my brand gets in their heads. They're the people I want to reach out. So that's the advantages of it. So I would say, if it's used well, Christopher, then yes, I think it would be would be more effective.
Well, and of course, Google has their plus post ads campaign is another example of promoted posts. What makes that unique is that plus post ads aren't promoted on the Google Plus platform, but they're actually pushed out through the Google Display Network. So if you're an AdSense publisher, it might show up on your site if you include it in the target range. And I don't know if you saw this today, but Yahoo now announced that Tumblr not only allows promoted posts, but it actually pushes out through the Yahoo Display Network. So that's actually a big announcement from Yahoo. And I know we're not doing Tumblr on today's show, but I want to mention and highlight it for one key reason, which is a lot of times when you're trying to do different kinds of promotions, you're trying to be creative, you'll run into situations where bigger brands with bigger budgets or things like that are kind of cutting you out of that opportunity, or it's a lot of work to find out how to do something. But you can go to one of those other networks where they're paying a little less attention, and you can gain a lot of headway and a lot of visibility much more cheaply. So that's where I honestly think that trying the Tumblr thing out is really worth a try. It's just because that's a lot of potential reach getting through the whole network of Yahoo sites.
Yeah, Tumblr has appealed to a certain narrow demographic, but if you're in that demographic, absolutely, that could be great. Pulling another question here, just a quick technical question from Denver Profit, saying, did they keep the bulk upload feature for multi-location brands? This is going back, referring again to Google My Business. And the answer is yes, and they made it better. This is another great piece of news. What Denver's referring to is that if you have, like we were referring to that client earlier who has 1,000 locations, obviously you don't want to sit there and go through and fill out a form for each.
It's Mark's job.
Is that really normal? Okay. There goes the weekends. But what you've been able to do for quite some time is put the information on a spreadsheet and then upload that all at once. Now, what's better, you can still do that, but what's better now is just the interface for doing that is much simpler. They have, if you use Google stuff, hold on to your heart for a moment. I'm going to say something that's going to maybe cause you medical problems. The instructions for how to do it are really clear and easy to understand. This is Google we're talking about. So it's very clearly illustrated, like how to fill out the spreadsheet, what data to put where, how to do it, and then once you upload it, you get feedback very quickly. If there's any errors, anything that they don't understand in the sheet, you see that right away, so you can go in and correct it and redo your upload. So
that's what gets back to what we were talking about before, because you get almost real-time feedback on it. For the large brands with many locations, it's like, that's killer. You upload it, and boom, right away, here are the issues, right? Really good to know.
So this brings in, before we go to more questions, just this contrast here. While in the sense that both Facebook and Google have their pay-to-play aspects, and in Google that's primarily Google AdWords, right? If you're having a hard time, especially for certain very competitive keywords, ranking highly in the organic search, then it may be to your advantage to buy ads for that. It's a lot easier to get an ad on the first page for a competitive keyword, relatively, because you're paying for it, than it is to build the organic ranking for that. So that is part of Google. This is part of Facebook. But with this Google My Business, what we see is just an interesting contrast. At the same time that Facebook is basically, if you read their blog post recently, where they and I linked that in my Marketing Land article, where Facebook defends what they're doing right now with the feed and paid ads. They come out and they say basically the best strategy on Facebook is buy the ads, buy the promoted content for brands. That's where you're going to get the most bang for the buck. Google certainly wants you to buy AdWords ads. They are not going to turn that away. That's where they make their money. What is it? I forget the last figures. Everybody, it's well over 90% of those billions of dollars that Google makes each year are from from the ads,
absolutely,
right? Yeah, from search ads. So they're not going to turn that away, and they want to encourage you to do that. At the same time, they are opening up the organic opportunities more. They're saying yes, we want you to do that, but we want by using Google My Business, by giving us this information, by making a verified Google Plus page and a verified Google local page for all your locations, by getting your data in there correct, we're going to be able to more easily, more accurately show you organically to the right people at the right time in the right place. So that's an interesting contrast there, that Google is making it actually a little bit easier to have an organic presence in their platform at the same time that Facebook is intentionally shutting that down.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing the way these things are continuing to evolve, and I think we're going to see more of these kinds of changes happening. So, do we have other questions from the audience?
I'm looking for them now.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, I'll ask a very important question. How about them San Antonio Spurs? Was that great or what? Sorry, Miami fans, but most of the country was against you just because of the history of all that. And it's not even because LeBron's a horrible human being. He actually isn't. He just made a couple of mistakes along the way from a PR point of view.
Clark Taylor is here for the pudding as well.
Oh, okay, great. That's good to know. So, not the pie, Clark?
Pie's good too.
Pie's good too.
You won't turn away the pie. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Good to know. So, yep. Go ahead.
Okay. Fernando Montenegro. This may be a highly specific technical question. I don't know if we'll be able to answer it, but is there any way to set up two? I think it means the number 2 places on Google Plus pages. I have 2 locations for my business. Well, yeah, Fernando. That's what we're telling you now. Is go to Google My Business. And that's what they're allowing you to do and encouraging you to do. First of all, we didn't mention this, but the week before Google My Business came out, there was another update where Google made it easier to bring together, if you had a lot of businesses were stuck in this situation where they'd set up a Google Plus brand page that wasn't a local page, but they had, they're also out of Google Places, they had this Google local page, and the 2 weren't linked together, and it was like having 2 different, presences. So what they made now is the ability to not really merge those, that's not the right term, but to associate them so that your Google brand page, which before if you set it up the wrong way, if you didn't set it up as a local page, you could not convert it. Now essentially you can. Now you can take that regular Google brand page and it will be associated with your local presence so they'll work together. But that's not really answering Fernando's question. Fernando, yes, if you go to Google My Business now, you should be able to do that. You can set up multiple locations and have them all associated with your overall brand page.
Right. So we should also just talk about some of the other differences, I think, between Google Plus and Facebook, because I think there's a lot, and it's worth talking about that a little bit. I know, one of the things that hits you very quickly when you start engaging in Google Plus is how much more expectation there is here for long-form content discussions, not only by the person posting something, but also in the comments. I mean, I've received many times like these multi-100-word comments, from somebody, which just isn't anything I see happening on any other social platform.
Yeah, there is that, I wouldn't say that you always have to do that, but
no,
yeah,
by no means,
yeah,
but
right.
but it does happen.
Yeah, and it seems to work. That long form content seems to work better here on Google Plus than it does in a lot of other places. You're right. We see that. I know I was saying to somebody the other day that now we're experimenting a little bit on our Stone Temple Consulting Google Plus page, where we have content that we post there on a regular basis that's more constructed right for the page. We actually write something a little bit more in depth on whether we're sharing some other post or just making a comment about something. But we can only do that so many times a day. And in between, we're sending shorter posts, which sometimes are linking back to older content of ours that's still good, but it's more like a one-liner, similar to a tweet, with just the link share underneath it. What we're seeing is that because we have a pretty good following now on our Google Plus page, and we have a good following of engaged people that like what we do get some, again, we get some clicks from those, and we get some, plus ones, be like 2, 3, 5 plus ones. We're getting some traffic from them, so I think they're worth doing. They're not hurting us, but by far, it's the posts where we actually have substantive content that get the biggest, the most reshares, the most comments, the most plus ones. It's it's a no contest. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and by contrast, you look at the Facebook environment. I mean, to me, it's really, I think you mentioned it earlier in the show, a lot more dominated by those personal connections, and extremely valuable platform for that. And there's a lot of people that I maintain contact with largely through Facebook, and that's great. It's very useful for that. But a very different experience here on Google Plus.
Yeah, I think people feel like those if a big chunky piece from a brand, especially, comes through their newsfeed, it's like a huge interruption on Facebook. It's like I wasn't looking for that. We didn't mention it in the show yet, but you brought up a post from Marketing Land, I think it was today, right? About Facebook engagement. You want to share that?
Yeah, so I think it was Search Engine Land, but I could be wrong.
Danny Sullivan shared it.
It was a somethingland.com site. And basically, it was showing that the engagement for brands on Facebook was down dramatically.
So not just the reach, but the actual engagement, people doing something on their posts.
Right, so, like 25% down.
Up to 50% for some brands.
Yeah, exactly. There were still a few that actually had increased engagement. But of course, we don't have controls in this report for how much they invested to get that engagement, and that's pretty telling when you see that that big a change.
I think that's evidence too that more backing up evidence that Facebook is right. Facebook has a problem here because even though people like brands on Facebook and people, if you ask them, will say, yeah, sure, I want to see the content. They don't actually like that content when they're looking at it. They less and less are they not only reading it, but they're not not engaging with it. So
yeah.
Ready for some more questions? I've got some older ones here. This one we can answer quickly. Denver Prophet asked about coupons in Google Local. It used to be able to offer coupons and offers through Google Local. That's gone away. He says, is that coming back? Is that going to come back? The answer is, I don't know. They haven't said anything about it, so we have no way of knowing. Typically, when Google takes away a feature, it's because not enough people are using it. That's not the only reason, but that's often the reason. So even though you may have liked it, for whatever reason, people just weren't taking advantage of it, and they decided not to clutter. That doesn't mean at some point in the future they might not experiment with it again or bring it out in some different way, but we don't know the answer to that.
You don't have the inside scoop?
I lost that. I had that tab open on my browser, the one that gave me the inside track, the answers directly from Google, and I closed it one day, and I couldn't get that back. So.
Well, you should have saved the URL for that thing. Geez. We weren't planning ahead there. So, no, that's. I think that's great. So, what about other differences between the two platforms?
Between Facebook and Google Plus. Yeah, I think we talked about. Obviously, here's the catch-22 of this, is that you still hear people saying like, well, I'm on Facebook because there's more people there, right? And there's fewer people on Google Plus active, and that still appears to be true. We think that the number of people active on Google Plus is, even though it is, undoubtedly less than Facebook, it's still a large number of people, and it's growing all the time. But so people say, businesses say, I need to be on Facebook because that's where everybody is. That's where the people are. But they're, in the next breath, they're complaining, but I can't reach any of them. So, you have to kind of ask, at some point, you have to kind of do a little simple analysis there and say, like, does it really do me good to invest a lot of time and effort on a platform? It'd be like saying, I need to be in this room because all the people are in this room, but I'm behind this soundproof screen, and it doesn't matter how loud I yell, they can't hear me. But they're in here, so I need to be in this room.
The soundproof screen, where is it?
It's an imaginary soundproof.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But you see what I'm saying? That that this is why people should consider. Yes. So one of the difference I'm getting at here is, it can be harder to find your audience on Google+, but the effort can be more rewarded because you're going to get more engagement, more reach with them, and you can build, this is another whole show, but you can build strategies where you bring audience, you attract audience into Google+, so that you become the center of that space of your marketing vertical on Google+, because your competitors aren't doing it. So it's an easy place to dominate, bring audience in, get that influence into all of Google that you build, that authority that you build. So I think that's the pitch for.
Well, and the other thing to remember, and it's really important, is that when you're on any of these platforms, right, you are beholden to whatever decisions they might make. They can change their rules. Any number of things can happen. They are businesses, and you have your own business to operate, and you really do need to remember that. So to me, it gets back to one of my favorite themes, which is that of other people's audiences. And your goal with getting on the platform is to do the right things to actually make those people start to become your audience. And that's really where the opportunity lies for you, right? So if you build the good visibility on a social media platform, you do some sharing of great content, resharing of other people's content, engaging with people, relating with influencers, all those great things, and you have in companion great content that you're putting on your own site, which is part of what you're sharing through that network. You start developing an audience direct to your own site, right? That really kind of needs to be the master platform when you're dealing with any third-party platform, right?
Yeah, good points. I mean, that's always want to have that in mind. I have nothing to add. I mean, that's just well said.
Oh, okay. Well, I was trying to start a whole, 2-hour discussion, but I guess
I just was watching and see we only have a little over 10 minutes left, so that's why I did.
Oh, you didn't want to go down. No, but I think this notion of other people's audience is important, and it goes, it really applies to any social media platform: Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Google+, Tumblr, if you're doing that. And,
that's what you're there for, and I mean, not the only thing you're there for, but it's distinctive advantage of putting in that effort, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I mean, the other things you get out of it is, of course, you can build relationships, but I think Mark and I have successfully taken the relationship we developed on Google Plus off platform. The evidence being that we're sitting here right now. Yeah. Right.
And there hasn't had to be a single intervention between us in this entire show for an hour. So.
Yeah, but there you go. Or any of the other shows that we've done together. This is actually show 23, by the way.
Wow.
In case you're interested. Yeah, so I think this whole notion, do you have some questions?
I do, but go ahead and finish.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this whole notion of other people's audiences is really important, and it goes even broader than just social media strategies.
Yeah.
So when you write in marketing land and search engine land and other places, and I write in Forbes and Copy Blogger and search engine land and other places, and all of those are okay, you're in front of their audiences, you're adding value to their audiences, and now you're bringing things, developing your own visibility, bringing people back to you.
I forget who it was that said it. It's one of those quotes that gets attributed to all the same people. It was either Woody Allen, Mark Twain, or Abraham Lincoln. So 90% of success is showing up.
Yes.
And there's a lot to say about that. And online, that's very important. Showing up, in as many different relevant places as you can to capture. Because in every place, there's going to be audience, as you're saying, that wouldn't have seen you anywhere else. But now they get to know you.
And Brownie points to the first viewer who looks up and posts what that quote, who that quote was from.
That's good. Yeah. And if you say either Woody Allen, Mark Twain, or Abraham Lincoln, who might dispute that? And they said all the smart stuff, with occasional mention to Albert Einstein. He gets a few of them in there too. So Denver Prophet asked, I lost his question here. He's asking something about the stream scrolled past it. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Past the private chat he's having with Charlotte Pierce.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that, Denver. We lost your question.
I will try to find it.
Yeah.
Go if you had something else to say. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was waiting on your question.
That's why I couldn't find it. It wasn't from Denver. It's from Lucas Miller.
There you go.
Okay. Lucas Miller asked, do you think Google Plus active users will continue to grow at the current rate, or is there a tipping point looming on the horizon?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a lot of headroom in Google Plus yet.
Sure.
Because it is a network with its own unique advantages and distinction. I think kind of what held it back quite honestly, is, oh gosh, I have a long list of reasons. Let's see if I can remember. It's all the other failed social media network launches. It's the belief that people had that Google wouldn't stand behind it when the hard times hit. It's the fact that people have lots of other social networks that they like to engage in. There's many different reasons, and frankly, in the technology community, just kind of a little jaded attitude about Google and having a social network. But I do think that you want to really look at the reality of this, which is that the various social channels all have their distinct aspects to them, and the reality of it is that people want different kinds of social capabilities for different needs. So we're actually seeing a certain amount of fragmentation in all the social networks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see, just let's go to Facebook, for example. As they acquire new social platforms, they keep them independent,
yeah.
right? Because they're recognizing that if they tried to merge it into one Uber platform, that would be less beneficial to the audience and less interesting to the audience than if they keep it into one larger network.
I think it's also true, and one more thing I would add to that, I agree with all the reasons that you said, is that it's the cliche about Google Plus is or has been true. Your friends aren't here. It makes it hard to get started in a new network when you go into it and you don't recognize anybody. You can't find any of the people that you know are not active. So Google Plus has had the biggest appeal to people that are willing to explore. It's had the biggest benefit for people who say, like, okay, there's nobody here that I know, but the cool thing is I can find conversations that I'd be interested in. I can find communities. I can do the search and find people who are talking about things that I like to talk about, and I can make new friends all over the world. And most of us who are very active here and have gotten great benefit out of Google Plus will tell you that the vast majority of the people that we're very close to now in this network, we never knew from anywhere else. They were not friends in real life. They were not friends on Facebook or Twitter, but they're people we discovered. We discovered each other here. Now that takes a certain personality to want to do that. I think that the tipping point, and I'll use that in a tipping point in a positive way. The question I think meant it negatively, but the tipping point for Google Plus might unfortunately come just at the expense of Facebook. If it ever reaches the point where we keep hearing this, and there keeps being threats of it, like Facebook's gone too far this time, everybody's going to leave, and nobody leaves. But if Facebook ever did push things to the point, or just blow it to a considerable extent, where a large number of people just said, "That's it, I can't deal with this anymore," Google Plus is the next obvious alternative to do the kinds of things that you do on Facebook. And if people could start to really get enough of their friends and say, like, are you fed up with Facebook too? Let's get started on Google Plus. That could start something that would be a huge tipping point here, and send it over from that point where you have to be here only if you're willing to be an extrovert and explorer and go out and find new people.
Yeah, although I have maybe I'm wrong about this, but Google Plus seems to be a particularly good environment for business context from my perspective, mm-hmm. because of the long form nature of it. And a lot of times with those social connections, where it's really purely about friends, the shorter messaging format is really quite desired by people. That's why I've read something or saw something today that texting had replaced the voicemail, mm-hmm. right? Because you would just text a message to someone rather than leaving a phone message, right? And Twitter, for all its challenges, its 140 character limitation, which essentially was its asset, still kind of being its limitation from a point of view of how people want to view the long-term health of the company. Mm-hmm. But those things have their place because they fit very specific niche needs. Mm-hmm. So I think if Google Plus becomes a stronghold for, you know, business conversations, that's actually not a bad landing spot, right? Because I mean, you know, look at LinkedIn, right, which kind of has a bit of that going for it, but is also has its own challenges with, in some ways, is being seen as a communication place for that. If Google Plus can establish that place on the horizon, it's a very powerful component. They don't need Google Plus to be, you know, Facebook in size to be an overwhelming success.
Yes, and I've always said that too.
Yeah.
So I agree. I'm just answering the question, just saying, like, you know, what would it take maybe for it to become at the level of Facebook? But I agree with you. I don't think that it needs to be for it to be a success.
Right, and it goes back to, you know, your article again. What you were saying in the article is like, so some things started to happen with Facebook where they had to constrain it, and part of it was driven by the size, right? And how do you get some of the noise out of the system, right?
Yeah.
And that again could be behind what they were doing with all this.
So,
you know, for a Google or a Facebook, clearly a big part of the strategy is not to try to make the main platform able to do more things, although they certainly will both do that, but it's what are additional platforms or services that we can offer which are separate, which can also gain large audiences, and then they can meld the data out of all those together.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. By the way, Gina Fidel confirmed my first instinct that it was Woody Allen who said 90% of success is showing up.
Official brownie point.
There we go. Yeah, one brownie point. Save those up for valuable prizes on some other site somewhere.
Where was that again? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Some other site somewhere.
Okay, got it.
.com.
.com. Excellent. All right, so I think we're out of questions. We're almost at the end of the show, so maybe we should just call it a wrap for today.
I think we could do that, and I think it was a lot of, I hope, valuable information for everybody in this. We'd love to hear from you more, you know, your opinions about these things, about engagement and reach on Facebook, Google+, what's working for you, what's not. You know, keep the dialogue, keep the conversation going. Start a thread on Google+, and, you know, plus us into it. We'll be glad to chat with you further about that. Yeah, interesting times that we live in. Great stuff to watch about what's happening, I think. Absolutely.
So, in terms of upcoming things, we haven't actually yet announced the Digital Marketing Excellence Show for this week. That's Thursday at 3. We, quite frankly, between the various things that I've been trying to do, I've gotten a little behind in getting those schedules. Fret not, it's not going away. It's just a little bit of a hiccup while I cope with a wildly over busy schedule. However, on Thursday night, we are having the New England Google Plus meetup, which I refer to as a town meeting hangout on air. We will have 20 plus people here in Stone Temple Consulting Worldwide Headquarters hanging out in real life with us, including many prominent Google Plus personalities. And we will have as our special guest star Martin Shervington, one of the true rock stars of Google Plus. I'm not sure how many bazillion followers he has now, but he just is a constant stream of valuable information about Google Plus.
And that will be broadcast as a live hangout on air.
It will.
So that's, you know, look forward to that. Follow the Stone Temple Consulting page to get updates on that. We'll give you the links to that. So Thursday evening, Eastern Time, you'll be able to see Martin Shervington teaching a group of local business people here in the New England area about how they can use Google Plus more effectively.
Yeah, make sure to jump on because we'll be taking questions from everywhere. So with that, that's it for the Digital Marketing Answers show for today. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.